Both are really religious worldviews, unsupported by the hard facts of science. And the argument is, hey, we can't teach religion in the schools, and I keep coming back, we already are. This is as much religious as this, or as much scientific.
That's not religion. I mean, you've been through this, but religion infers a supernatural force, whereas science evolution does not infer a supernatural force, so therefore...
Evolution is not a supernatural force?
It's not a supernatural being.
It's a scientific
It's
theory.
not based on supernatural force, whereas creation is near the supernatural creator. Therefore, I contest your definition of religion.
Okay, here, I got it right here in my pocket. Okay. I'm telling you, in the books, and what we're teaching to our kids in school, and on Carl Sagan's show, Cosmos, you know, billions of years ago, evolution is presented as if, as if it is a force that governs the universe. And sometimes it's even capitalized, capital E, evolution, like it is a god. Read your books. I bet I can find it in here, where the word evolution is capitalized. Evolution is the driving force. It is God.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I never heard
Read
that.
your book with that thought in mind, and I think you'll say, wow, that's what they're teaching. Okay.
Never mentions a
Why did we go from simple life forms 3 billion years ago, when there's no such thing as a simple life form, but we're going to use their words here, a simple to complex.
Easy, because Ilya-Prigogine shows that systems that we think are chaotic spontaneously organize into higher levels of complexity as time goes on.
Yeah,
That's not what this book teaches, I'm
That's
sure.
what the Nobel Prize teaches. That's what Prigogine won his Nobel for, and that's what I was trying to tell you before about entropy being an illusion. That's a known process. It's an explained process. It's a leading edge process.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. It's a process. You're showing me that you're telling me that animals in the laboratory have been changed into something.
Oh, no, not animals in the laboratory. I'm not talking about animals. You keep talking about animals. You're talking about entropy here and going from simple to complex. I'm talking about information. It's information theory. It happens all the time. You ever heard of chaos math? You ever seen fractal generation?
I'd love to get you to Las Vegas, man. I can make a fortune off of you because you gamble on the long shot.
Not at all. You're saying simple to complex.
You're saying the greater the odds are against it happening, if the chances are 1 in 10 million of flipping heads 5,000 times in a row, that proves it happened that way.
Not
You
at
give them
all.
the whole universe 4 quarters. And
Not at all.
Who's going to flip them quarters? The quarter's going to wear out before you won't be able to tell which is his.
You're unaware of Prigogine's work. I'd advise you to read his book, read the study of what he did, and then talk about it.
There have been people all through history, the last 200 years, let's take. Charles Darwin gambled on that. Well, there must have been changes.
I'm not talking about a gamble. I'm talking about a mathematical stochastic process. It's not talking about gambling. It's not talking about animals. It's talking about chaos and information, plain and simple. There it is. Just look it up.
Starting from
The
simple to the complex. You think that happens all by itself with no addition?
All by itself. It's a property of information-bearing systems.
I think you are dreaming.
Fine. I think you're dreaming when you dream about God. So are you. I mean,
Right.
come on. You got a ghost story going on here with supernatural.
So do you have this
puppet strings. It's crazy.
You have this mysterious process that is going from
It's
simple
not
to complex.
It's well defined.
And it
We'll
works.
see that you get information on it, because obviously we're not getting any further right now.
Okay.
We'll get you information on
Get the
it.
information on it. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. I mean, I know there's no provable evidence of this. I just want to know if the evolutionist theory of the creation of the world is that it came from a single dense atom of energy. Well, the creationist theory is it came from God. God created it. Where did God come from? Or is there anybody that has any theories on where has he just always been existing in a void, or what happened before he created it? Was there something else?
Good question. Where did God come from? That is going to be unanswerable from our perspective here on Earth.
What about the Sumerians book? The Sitchin's work with Genesis Revisited about where the Creator came from. You read the book?
Well, see, the reason they believed that is because they had not heard me speak. If they had been to my seminars, I would have said.
That's the same means that the Bible has been generated from.
No, I disagree with that, but that's what's in back to how we got our Bible. Give me your question one more time. Give me back on track. You want to know?
Yeah, where did God come from? And is there anybody that has any theory now? I mean, it's so feasible.
There is no proof of that either way, but let me give you an analogy. I taught geometry, science, and mathematics for years. In geometry, in plane geometry, you deal with just flat substances. Let's suppose we have two people, Mr. Flat and Mrs. Flat. Okay? Here they are, Mr. Flat and Mrs. Flat. They live in Flatland, the chalkboard. They have no comprehension of the third dimension, right? All they see, actually, you and I as three-dimensional beings, you can see two dimensions, width and height, and you understand depth, but you don't really see depth in the strict sense of the term. You could take a picture of what you're looking at, and it would be flat, but you would still perceive the depth in it. Third dimension is really something we perceive. You don't really see it, if I can get the difference across. Mr. Flat would see Mrs. Flat as a straight line. He could walk around and understand that she is indeed a rectangle. But he only sees her as a straight line. He walks around and says, oh, she's a rectangle, okay? Suppose I, as a three-dimensional being, would like to get them to understand me. You can't put a three-dimensional object into two dimensions. So I stick my finger through the chalkboard. Mr. Flat comes over and says, I've seen him. He's a circle. Right? The cross-section of my finger. Over here, I put three fingers through the chalkboard. Mrs. Flat comes over and she says, oh, no, honey, I've seen him. He's three circles. Both have a very, very limited, small view of what I am. Both are right and wrong at the same time. There's no possible way I'm going to explain a three-dimensional being to a two-dimensional being. Cannot be done. But yet I have the capacity of being closer to them than they can be to each other. And they're not even aware of my presence, because I'm just barely into the next dimension. Right? I think God is not limited to our three dimensions that we have, length, width, and height, or maybe time, and maybe there's other dimensions. I think the God that I envision is beyond all of this nature. He created it. The guy who designed the car, or the computer, or the calculator is above and beyond and smarter than and outside of his creation. He's not affected by it. He has to be smarter than the watch. He made the watch, right? I think the Creator is not part of this creation in the pantheist sense. I mean, God, you don't go hug the trees because this God is the tree and God is the rock and God is the flower. That's a very limited pantheistic view of God. The God that I have is outside of his creation. If he wants to come down and walk on the water or raise the dead, he made the whole thing. He can do absolutely anything, totally unlimited. That is the Christian God